okay, this has been sitting in my mind for over 20 years, and this has been driving my behavior in my head. Hey everybody, I'm in the orange lights. I know I haven't been around for a while. I'll get to why that is at the end of this video, but we're going to talk today, or tonight I should say, about the subconscious mind. Ooh. I don't have a plan for this video. I, as usual, came up with the topic a few minutes before I left the home. But I wanted to talk about the subconscious mind because I've been reading about the subconscious mind a lot, and it's kind of the basis for psychoanalysis, which is what I've been reading about. And I thought, like, how could we not talk about the subconscious mind when we talk about mental health? And I haven't really talked about it yet, so I thought this might be the right time to bring it up. So the subconscious mind is basically what's in your mind, in the back of your mind, when you're not conscious, or what you're not conscious of, I should say. And it's everything that's going on in there in the background. You know, like when you sleep, you're unconscious and there's stuff going on, and you dream and you're sort of conscious of the dreams, but there's things going on inside your head that determine your motivations, that determine why you do the things that you do. It's kind of fascinating. We're going to explore it. Okay, every time I come up here, I wind up shaking, and then the film looks really bad, so I'm going to try not to do that, and I apologize if it happens. So, the unconscious mind, there is a lot going on inside there. Recently, for myself, I'm somebody who's suffered from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and because of that, I have fragmented memories from my childhood, and one memory that surfaced recently for no reason at all that I can think of, and this is why the subconscious mind is so interesting, is that this just seemed to surface, and who knows what in my environment or what was going on triggered this. But I've always had this thing where I don't want to be seen before I shower, and I shower every day, and I just don't like to be seen in whatever I wear to bed, or like with my hair disheveled. I don't know, and I always just assumed it was kind of like because I felt like I was dirty, or I felt like I wasn't presenting the best version of myself, and that must have been why, and that was kind of my reasoning for it. So I didn't really need like an explanation behind it. That was just kind of what I thought it was. And then I realized when this memory surfaced, the memory was when I was probably around 10 years old. I was in my pajamas, and I was sitting in my den, and somebody from my school, so a classmate, came into my home with their mother and was looking around, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? What is this person doing here? And I felt very exposed, not just because I was in my pajamas, but because my parents were divorcing, and I didn't understand what was happening. And then it started to dawn on me what was happening as I heard them talking, which was that they were selling the house. And although, of course, I was aware that we were selling our house at some point, I never had a conversation with my parents about it. So it was kind of like all of a sudden that these people were in my house, and not only were they in my house, but now they knew that my parents were getting divorced, which was something I was never supposed to talk about, and there was a lot of anxiety around that. And then it was like, what the heck is going on here? There's a train coming. So this memory sprung up and helped me realize, like, okay, this has been sitting in my mind for over 20 years, and this has been driving my behavior. It's been driving some anxiety inside of me, and it's been driving how I react to people seeing me. So for years, my behavior was being determined by an anxiety, which was being determined by a memory that was 20 years old, and that just kind of gives you an idea of the depth of your unconscious mind, or your subconscious. So traumatic memories are kind of a window to what could be going on in there. We also have a lot of images that we store in there. You know, we have templates for what our parents looked like, and we use those templates. They're called imagos. To seek out partners. Not necessarily that we want our parents as partners, but we use the way that love was modeled from our parents to determine the way that we go ahead and then try to find love in other people. And we also use the way that they treated us as like a signal that this is somebody who we could have a relationship with, either by mirroring what how the parent treated us, or trying to find somebody who's kind of like the opposite is typically how we wind up in those relationships. So it's interesting what gets stored in your unconscious mind. There's so much literature on this out there, and it's interesting because the DSM-3, when that came out, that was in the, oh gosh, I don't even know, hold on. Okay, just look quickly, if I got it right, then 1986 was the DSM-3. When they made the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual version 3, that is the manual that therapists use to diagnose mental disorders, they purposely used behavioral descriptions of disorders, because even though up until that point, basically psychoanalysis had been the way to view mental problems, it's not measurable. You can't measure your subconscious mind because it's invisible. There's nothing to scientifically validate. So in an effort to establish psychology as a legitimate science, they said, okay, well, we can't prove what's going on inside the mind because we don't even know exactly what the mind is and where to look for it, and we don't have the tools to like image the brain or anything at that point. So their thought was, we're gonna talk about behaviors then. And so the DSM-3 looks at behaviors, and through looking at those behaviors, they could start to establish the validity of whether these behaviors are patterns that we see in certain groups of the population, and legitimize it as a science, because you can survey people, you can observe behavior, and so that's what the DSM-3 did. But in the process of doing that, this kind of pushed psychoanalysis to the side a little bit, and then we started seeing therapies emerge where there was less focus on what was going on in the back of the mind and in the memories of the mind, and more focus on what's going on as far as people's behaviors, and how can we get their current thoughts and their current emotions and their current behaviors to be modified to get them to a healthier place. And there's certainly that is important. You know, not everybody needs to analyze every detail of their mind the way psychoanalysis kind of pushed for people to, but we've kind of swung the pendulum so far into behavioral analysis that we lost some of that depth of understanding that psychoanalysis provided for us. And I am hoping that the field of psychology starts to return to that direction a little bit, and I hope that we find structures in the mind, like through brain scans, that actually confirm some of the old theories, because the theories were very solid in their logic. And you know, if you just read through the theories and kind of apply them to your own life and apply you know, not everything survived, not everything was perfect, but if you apply the general concepts to your own life, you could see, like, this makes total sense, like, of course. And it's really interesting how they connected different disorders, like how they connected schizotypy and schizophrenia to depression, which they also connected to narcissism, which connected to borderline personality disorder, which connected, like, it just all connected because they had a framework for talking about these things that, again, kind of got pushed to the side as we move towards validating it as a science. Now, of course, validating psychology as a science is important, and, you know, we can't just make up theories and assume them to be true. Of course, we want to be able to test these things, but I think we shouldn't just abandon the psychoanalysis, because there is fascinating stuff going on inside of our minds that I think we lose the exploration of when we focus so much on what's going on in the here and now and the behaviors. So, I don't know, I just wanted to go off on that little rant there. I guess the reason I wanted to talk about this at all is because I think the subconscious mind is really important for understanding personality disorders. And so a lot of people who have personality disorders, they don't react so well to some of these therapies that focus only on the here and now. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't, and I think part of the reason for that is because we need that theory of mind that some of these psychoanalytic theories had as explanations for what's going on with these personality disorders to get a better understanding of how to treat them. Now, part of the reason why I feel that way is because I'm going to be doing a video on narcissistic personality disorder, and I've been researching a lot into the history of it and where the term came from and what it actually means and how that term has evolved over time. And so I just think that there's a lot of valuable knowledge there that we don't talk about enough because we don't think about the subconscious mind enough. I think a lot of people, when they go into therapy, they think it's like scary to go into their mind, but it's not as scary as people think it really is when you have explanations for what's going on. Okay, anyway, if you're new here, please subscribe. I do mental health videos Monday through Friday, although like the past 2 days, sometimes I'll skip a day or two, and that's why I skip those days, because I've been researching for this video. I'm going to continue researching for it. I have a big vision for the video, as I want it to encompass like the entire history of narcissism as best as I can capture in a short video, so that's what I was doing. But if you're new here, I do all kinds of videos talking about different topics as I walk around at night. And I plan to be having a higher quality of video for my channel, which is why I'm doing this researching. So if you're interested in mental health at all, I will have something for you. Hit subscribe and hit the bell once you hit subscribe to get notified every time that I put out a video. If you would like to support what I do here, I have a Patreon page. You can go over there and get some behind the scenes stuff. I'm thinking a little bit more about how I want to add more rewards to that as well. So these things are always on my mind. I don't always have the time in the day to be able to do them, but I want everyone to be aware that they're there. But thank you for joining me tonight, and I'll see you around to talk about more mental health soon.